Learning to quieting down the mind is already in your experience, but you're pointing your attention away from it. See that this is who you truly are. And the mind wants you to believe that the mind is who you truly are. When we say the word I, that is what we refer to, but when we use the word I in the mind, we take us away from it. And so when we learn to rest in that silent space, it might feel like something is opening up for you, almost like a point in space somewhere that we cannot point towards. Let's just take one moment here before we start the video. What does gratitude feel like? What does gratitude feel like? What's the sensation of gratitude? What happens in the body when you feel grateful? What's the physiological adaptation in your body when gratitude is present? It's putting a little bit of a demand on the heart, like the heart is activating. Not a demand in a negative way, but in a pleasant way. You know, we might feel tingles, might feel like, okay, this feels good. Raising our emotional state. Gratitude. What I want to point you towards in this video is to just what I use to quiet down my mind. And this is something that a lot of people ask me questions about. How can I quiet down my mind in the most effective way possible? And this is a little bit of a we're usually coming at it from an angle that is ineffective, because we're coming at it from a place of performing or performance. What do I do to quiet down my mind? There's nothing to do at all. It's the opposite of doing. It's simply paying attention, becoming more aware of what is already here. This silence, we're learning to quieting down the mind is already in your experience, but you're pointing your attention away from it. If you want to learn to quiet down your mind and to find silence on the inside, we want to learn to redirect our attention from our mind. So this question of what do I do to quiet down my mind, that is a paradox, because there's nothing at all to do, because that is the mind wanting to do something. So we're actually pointing our attention towards the mind, which is the opposite of what we want to achieve, really, loosely. We're directing our attention towards the mind where silence is not happening, because if we direct our attention towards the mind will keep thinking, what do I do? It's not quiet. What is happening? Am I doing this right? All of these things, right? So I want to point you in a direction here where silence is always present, regardless of, it's a fly, regardless of what you're doing, regardless of any circumstance. And of course, sometimes when suffering happens or when there's immense resistance towards life, it can be very hard, very difficult to redirect our attention, because our mind is really grasping for it. It's really hard to see our way out of that, if that makes sense. So at times it can be really difficult, but that is also just what is exactly supposed to happen in those moments, right? We don't want to work against resistance. We don't want to resist resistance. We don't want to work against things that appear inside our awareness. We want to work with it. So learning to work with the resistance during times of suffering is really a key factor. Allow this to happen. Allow the resistance, allow the suffering, allow the pain to be exactly what it is. I'm going to work with it. Yeah, that's really a key factor. But finding silence in the mind. Let's just take a moment real quickly. If you want to learn to quieting down the mind, I will teach you here. I will show you what is already present, what has always been present, what is in your experience right now. Just take a moment to ground yourself. You can do that. You can pay attention to your body. Like I said, steering your attention away from the mind is what we're going to do here. Playing with the senses, like we can tap into the sense of touch, for example. It's like, what does my hand feel like? It feels tingly. Feels good. Right? So we're steering our attention away from the mind, like I said. We're steering our attention inside awareness towards something else than the mind. Let's just play with sounds for a little bit. I'll point you in the direction of just open yourself up to all the sounds that you have in your awareness right now. All the sounds, the entire ambience of sounds. For me here, I hear the waves. I hear a boat in the distance. I hear the wind. Just the entire ambience of sounds. Just open yourself up to that. Now, if you go beyond the entire ambience of sounds, without looking for it, there is a silence beyond the sounds. There's a silence beyond all sounds. Listen in that direction. Listen towards the silence. And if you're hearing the boat here as well, allow the boat to just be. There's a motorboat coming here. Allow that sound to be what it is. Allow, if you have whatever you're doing, you might have birds or people or, just whatever is appearing inside your ambience. Just allow that to be there. And listen to the silence that lies beyond sound. It's already there. You don't have to grasp it. It's almost like if we listen to this and we become aware of this space of silence, it's almost like the mind wants to grasp it. Or when we have it, the mind is trying to move away from it. You can probably recognize that, but allow that to be as well. Allow the mind to want to move away from it. And learn or see that this silence that appears, or it never comes and goes, it's always there. But see that this is unconditioned by the mind. It's not a thought, it's not an emotion. See that this is who you truly are. And the mind wants you to believe that the mind is who you truly are. I am my experiences. I am my fears. I am my insecurities. I am this person. I am a woman. I'm a man. I'm from Sweden. I'm from Spain. I'm from wherever. But those are just thoughts, right? So just return to the entire ambience. Even my voice is in your ambience right now, right? And notice that there's a silence beyond that is always still, always present, doesn't come and go, which is your true nature, who you are. And just learning to rest in that space more and more and more will recondition our way, or our interests, let's say, of using our attention pointed towards the mind. We will recondition this habit of always turning to the mind for an answer. Because the answer is not in the mind. The answer lies in the non-answer, in the silence. So we want to learn to really become aware of this space. Because it's from this space that we are able to really direct our attention. So it's really allowing attention to be drawn, maybe that's the wrong word, to settle, to calm down within itself. And that's where we find a quiet mind. That's where we find silence. And that which will interrupt the silence is the I thought. The I thought is the thing that will disturb, interrupt, take you out of recognizing this silence all the time. And what the I thought is this mechanism in your mind that we have all identified with, believing that this is me talking to myself. I need this, I want this, I am that, I'm this, I'm sick, I'm depressed, I'm happy, I'm I, me, mine, myself, I, mine, right? It's this mechanism which presents itself like a voice almost, talking to ourselves in the mind as if we are talking to ourselves, unaware that we are the one listening to all this happening all the time. This I thought talks to us like we are the one talking to ourselves. It's such a deeply fascinating occurrence. It happens, but we are not that. And it's the I thought that is creating all the turmoil and tension and suffering. I need this, I want that, I should, I could, I would, I am, I need, I want to move, I need to become, I need to have, I need to, starting with I. So this silent space that I'm pointing towards is, it's just there. When we say the word I, that is what we refer to, but when we use the word I in the mind, we take us away from it. So this silence comes even before the words I, the word I. It's just there all the time. So the I thought is the obstacle. It's not an obstacle, it's not an enemy, it's just there as well. It's all happening here, right? So it's not an enemy, it's not something to get rid of, it's just something to become aware of. Oh, this is happening. This is also happening inside awareness. All this ambience, all these sounds happening inside awareness. Me sitting here, happening inside awareness. Everything that I see, everything that I taste, everything that I smell, everything that I touch, everything that I think of, all my emotions, my breath, my body, happening inside awareness. The I thought happening inside awareness. There's nothing to resist. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to overcome, there's nothing to become, because it's all just ever-changing vibrations inside awareness. And even using the word vibration, contraction, expansion, even using those words doesn't mean anything either, because they're just words and thoughts. But when we rest in awareness exactly as we are, we will realize that everything is just happening. Movements, expansions, sensations, tingles, like vibrations, everything. It's just that. But we have somehow convinced ourselves that we need to resist these things. We label certain things happening inside awareness as bad and certain things as good. And when we do that, we create duality. We see things as good, I need to have more of this, and we see other things as bad. I need to get away from these things. I, right? Fueled by the I thought. Fueled by desire to either crave something or create aversion towards something else. Can't have that. I need to move towards this thing. Never, ever, ever present. And so when we learn to rest in that silent space, it might feel like something is opening up for you. Almost like a point in space somewhere that we cannot point towards. You might feel sensation in your lower abdomen or solar plexus or heart or throat or all at once. That I've always been this silent space. And when we learn to recognize that the I thought is the thing that is like flickering, disturbing that inherent peace in us, that's a really good place to be, and we can learn to localize the I thought without deeming it the enemy. If this is resonating with you, please leave a like and comment. I read every comment, and I really want to hear your story as well, how you resonate with this and what you're working towards. Subscribe if you want to, and I hope to see you in the next video. Peace.